Okay, so welcome everyone to the Alberta Lake Management Society 2025 Summer Lake Keepers Training Session. My name is Kirsten Perrin. I am the program coordinator for both the Lake Keepers and the ICBM program at ALMS, so I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their lunch today to join. Please feel free to keep your cameras off if you'd like to enjoy your lunch during the session. Believe we've got some returning volunteers this summer, which is awesome. So hopefully this will be a good refresher. And if we have anyone new joining, hopefully this inspires you to come participate with us this summer. If you've already signed up and you've committed to joining, then we'll be reaching out soon to coordinate equipment pickups or shipping it to you. So feel free to ask questions throughout. You can either unmute them or write them in the chat. I do have my colleagues online with me today, so they'll be keeping an eye on the chat. And there will be lots of time for questions at the end. And if we're disconnected for any reason, just please use the same link to get back in. Any questions before we begin? Okay. Okay, so the agenda for today, I'm just going to talk about the Lake Keepers program if we have any new interested volunteers. I'm going to share some general results from summer 2023. I'll go over the program design, go over what the field sheets look like, how to calibrate our probes, and then just go through the actual day of sampling before you go out, while you're out on the lake, and then what you do after. We'll look at some shipping logistics and some next steps before we begin. So we'd like to respectfully acknowledge that our work takes place across the traditional territories of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities within Alberta. Our office is located in Amisquachi-Waskahigan, or Edmonton, on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Dene people, and homeland of the Métis Nation. Throughout our programs, we work in partnership with many communities across Treaty 6, 7, and the 8 territories, including the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Inuit, as well as the Otipemisiwak Métis government representing the Métis Nation within Alberta and the Métis settlements. We at ALMS honor the deep, enduring relationships Indigenous peoples have with the lands, the waters, and skies, and we are committed to respect, reconciliation, and meaningful partnerships with all communities that we work with through our programs as we work together to monitor and protect these lands. So for those who don't know us, we are the Alberta Lake Management Society. We are a nonprofit organization that have been around since the 90s with a vision of healthy lakes for Alberta's future. So through various programs like participatory science, community-based monitoring, and our citizen scientists initiatives such as LakeKeepers, we conduct lake and beach monitoring across the province. Our mission is to deepen the understanding of aquatic ecosystems by engaging communities through education, monitoring, outreach, and collaboration with various stakeholders, such as government agencies, other NGOs, Indigenous communities, universities, and our WPACs. Alongside monitoring efforts, we do lead educational seminars, conferences, webinars, and events. And these provide valuable learning opportunities for the public and professionals. And we also play a key role in collecting and synthesizing the data and offer expertise to organizations concerned with lake management. This helps foster aquatic research in Alberta. We do provide scholarships and actively participate in the local, provincial, and national programs to help advance environmental knowledge, management, and action. So we do have a small permanent team year-round. I'm sure many of you have come across us through the various programs, but we do have our program technician, Kirsten, our program manager, Brittany, and our executive director, Brad. And we also have our 4 summer staff. We have our Lake Watch technicians, Jordan, who's returning this summer, and Angela, and then we also have Justin and Sarah, who will be our rec water techs this summer. So you might be running into them through other programs, or if you see them on the water, then give them a wave. Okay, so our LakeKeepers program is a citizen science initiative that includes both winter and summer components. So the summer LakeKeepers program began in 2018, while the winter LakeKeepers was piloted in 2000 to the 2019 season. So both programs empower volunteers with the tools and training to independently monitor the lakes of interest or reservoirs for key parameters that inform our own understanding of lake ecology and health. So there's a really strong focus on engaging local lake stewards, including anglers and residents, to support data collection and to help connect water quality monitoring with the fisheries health. Volunteers participate year-round through flexible sampling schedules that accommodate varying access and time constraints. Parameters typically include temperature, dissolved oxygen, and connectivity that are measured with a water quality probe, and then a variety of nutrients and water chemistry indicators that are collected through the bottles. And we also do record numerous environmental observations on the field sheets as well. So this program has grown from 5 lakes and 12 sampling events across Alberta during its inception year to now 15 unique lakes and 52 sampling events this past summer. So this program has been successful with capturing data on more northern isolated lakes, especially in Alberta, including lakes such as Wadlin and Hague. So those are those far north dots on the GIF. And this program has been designed to address a variety of concerns. Some common questions and concerns from our volunteers or lake users usually fall under these broad categories, which includes climate change, salinization impacts, fish habitat, algal ecology, groundwater, and seasonal connectivity. So questions that have come up, such as I've noticed the lake levels changing, or the fish seem to be disappearing, or I've seen more fish kills over time. Other questions, how do road salts or agricultural runoff impact my lake? Can we swim here? Why is there so much algae present? Or maybe I didn't notice that years ago. How has the lake changed? Or what are these swimming advisories we see? So these are the kind of questions that we look at, we want to collect data for, we want to establish those baseline data trends in order to look at long-term impact trends and help answer these questions. And even though a lot of data has been collected over the decades, especially in open water season, it still leaves a data gap. So Summer LakeKeepers is providing another avenue for citizens to collect data, typically on smaller, maybe more remote lakes in a lot of cases. And this can help fill in that lake monitoring gap in Alberta, as many of the popular recreational lakes, such as Pigeon and Sylvan and Wabamun, they are typically heavily sampled and they have a lot of historical data on them. So Summer LakeKeepers is designed to allow these smaller, more remote lakes that may slip through the cracks to be able to build that baseline of data and track those changes over time. So I just wanted to provide just a few general results that we got from the summer of 2023. We are working on the summer 2024 data currently, so that will be made available this year. All these figures are available on our ALMS website under Summer LakeKeepers, so you can go ahead and view these after if you want more detail. But I wanted to share the chlorophyll A data. So just looking at the average surface total chlorophyll A data in summer 2023, the concentrations which are used as an indicator of algal biomass and lake productivity, as you can see, varied widely across the sampled lakes. So we have Sturgeon Lake at the top that exhibited the highest average concentration of 209 micrograms per liter. So that dark green is classified as hypereutrophic, along with Kehuen, Hague, and Wadland. So these lakes indicate high nutrient levels and are likely experiencing frequent or intense algal blooms. That light or that teal color just below, including Last and Graham Lake, is classified as eutrophic. So that's more of a moderate to high productivity lake. And still likely producing some blooms throughout the summer. And then the darker blue lakes such as Grand Cache, West River's Edge, and Pigeon. These are mesotrophic or showing more moderate nutrient levels and algae growth. And then the light blue below is classified as oligotrophic, so low productivity, likely clear water conditions, and not much algae productivity. So majority of the lakes have fallen into the mesotrophic or the hypereutrophic, which suggests just a potential for increased frequency of the cyanobacterial blooms, which we normally do see in Alberta. Okay, we also took a look at surface total phosphorus concentration. So again, you do see that similar variation, kind of matching up with the chlorophyll data. We have sturgeon and swan and Kehuen and Last in those hypereutrophic conditions. Hague, Graham, and Pigeon again fall within that eutrophic, with Victor, Moberly, and Desjardins at the bottom falling into those oligotrophic lakes. So yeah, it's kind of reflective of a more clear nutrient poor water conditions, and this total phosphorus data does align with the chlorophyll findings that we just looked at. And then we also looked at microcystin, so that toxin within cyanobacteria blooms. So by provincial guidelines, anything above 10 micrograms per liter, so it's indicated by that red dotted line, does exceed guidelines and would become a health hazard. So we just wanted to test that through the summer to make sure our lakes, that people are aware of where that toxin might lie. So as you can see with sturgeon to the far right, there were some sampling events above that 10 micrograms per liter. Also with Hague Lake, we had one event above that, while the rest of the lakes actually did test below the guideline, which is great. There was still presence of microcystin, but it's not prominent throughout most of the lakes in the summer of 2023, which is a good thing. Is there any questions on that? Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the program design. So if you've participated in LakeKeepers before, you know that we do provide the YSI ProSolo probes. These measure temperature, dissolved oxygen, and connectivity. We also provide numerous things in the kits, including the field manuals, the field sheets, the bottle sets and coolers, ice packs, the calibration solutions for the probe, a chlorophyll A filtering kit, which I will go through those steps later on, and the Secchi disc in that far right corner, that black and white disc that helps measure water clarity. And then with the sampling design, our volunteers choose one lake of interest to sample and then aim to complete 3 monthly sampling trips between June to September. And then we do have a reporting component as well. So the ALMS reports are available on our websites. Like I said, we are working on the current LakeKeepers years, which will be posted this summer. And the raw data is also uploaded to the Gordon Foundation's data stream, and that's publicly available, and you can search by your lake, and you can find all that data collected. And then within the field manual, we do list the sampling equipment. So when you do receive everything, be sure to look through this list and make sure you have everything. If you don't, just let us know right away and we can make sure that you have everything ready to go for your first trip out. Okay, and then this is just what the field sheets look like. So at the top here, we look at things, we list our lake name, our location name. So usually that's just a reference point on the lake, such as which basin. If it's near a campground or provincial park, then you can list that location, date, time. We encourage everyone to list the participants that are out for the day and the hours spent sampling. We like to keep track and know how much time our volunteers put into these programs. And then we have our environmental observations below. So we have things like air temperature, wind speed, wind direction. These can all be pulled from weather apps. We have cloud cover estimates. So this is just recorded as a percent. So when you look up at the sky, at the lake as a whole, like how much of the clouds is covering the lake. We also ask to record a 24-hour rainfall. So we've included a website there where you can find that information to record. And then unique to summer is looking at cyanobacteria blooms and measuring Secchi depth. So in the field manual, we do list different I guess ways that you'll see these cyanobacteria blooms. So you could see more like particles, like in the top picture. You could see it present itself more as paint streaks or thick matted scums. So just record what you see. If it looks different, there is a spot near other that you can record. And then also if you could grab separate GPS points if a bloom is away from your original sampling site, that would be great. And we encourage you to take pictures and send them to us as well, just so we can help keep track of that. And then we do record our Secchi depth, which I will go over right away here. We also have the watercolor observed over your Secchi disc. So that's just when you lower your Secchi disc just under the surface and you just want to observe the color of the water against that white streak of the disc. And then a spot for your GPS points, which we encourage you to record just so we know where where our data is coming from. And then below we have our probe calibration spot. So we have a spot for your dissolved oxygen to record the barometer and the connectivity, which I will go over those steps in a bit. Okay, and then this is the backside. So there is a spot here to record your bottom depth. We do provide a tape and weight that you can drop to the bottom to record. We ask that you measure in meters. The tape and weight does offer feet as well, but we asked you to please use the meter side as we do mark our probe cables already in meters. So it's just nice and easy for you to go by each depth, recording at each meter until bottom. And then you don't have to convert anything from feet to meters, and it's just really easy for you. We do have a spot for your chlorophyll A filter volumes, which I'll go through in a bit, but that's where you can also record on your field sheet. We've added a color of the filter paper. So that's when you first filter and we just want you to record what the color looks like. And then up top, as you can see, you've got your varying depths. You've got a spot for temperature, DO, and connectivity. So as you measure at each depth, you're just going to record all three of those parameters across. And then there's a spot for additional comments. So if you have any difficulty with lake access, if you want to comment on the lake levels, if there's any issues with the equipment, that's a really important one, just so we can keep track of that. If you see wildlife or vegetation, if the water quality looks strange, any observations is helpful just to identify what's going on that day. And then we do have a checklist at the bottom just to make sure that you've completed all the tasks. So just be sure to look through that and fill it out. Okay, so we'll talk about before you head out. So you want to make sure your probe is charged. There is a charging cord provided in your kit. These handhelds are really good. They hold a charge very well. You likely won't have to, but just make sure you turn it on and take a look at the top right corner, make sure it's good to go for your entire trip. You're going to calibrate dissolved oxygen on your probe, which we'll discuss soon, and possibly connectivity. We do have an online informed consent form on our website, so please fill that out prior to going out especially if you're new to the program. Check the weather to ensure that the boat's conditions are safe throughout the trip. If it seems like a storm's coming in, reschedule. If you get out onto the lake and it's very windy and there's whitecaps, please get off the lake and reschedule. We just want to make sure everyone's sampling safe. Really important for summer is to make sure you bring out a cold ice pack with your bottle set. We don't want the samples getting warm while you're out there or transporting back to your office or home. And yeah, again, just check the weather. If it's not looking good, reschedule. Your safety is much more important, and it also won't compromise the samples as well. And we talked about recording GPS. There's a variety of formats you can do. None are wrong. Just make sure you record as you see on your device. You can use your phone, a Garmin, Google Maps. Just record to as many digits as is shown. Okay, and then I will talk about the calibration steps. So everyone will be doing dissolved oxygen. And then connectivity will be for some volunteers. That's if we send out the probe long-term to you and it won't return to the office each time. If you're just picking it up and dropping it off the next day, then an ALMS staff member will calibrate the connectivity for you, but I will go through both of them here. Okay, so there's a few different components. We've got our gray sleeve, our metal guard, and then the probe itself. So we'll start with dissolved oxygen. So you're going to remove that gray sleeve and guard on the probe. There will be some Kim-wipe tissues provided in the kit. You're just going to take a tissue, gently dry the surface tip. Make sure there's no cracks and that everything looks good, even along that entire black ridge. Just make sure there's no cracks. Please let us know right away if there is. There will be a little yellow sponge in that gray sleeve. If there's not, please let us know, or you can purchase just like a cleaning sponge and just cut out a circle just until it can get back to us. We want to make sure that sponge is slightly moist. And then we're going to put the guard and the gray sleeve back on, and we're going to keep it upright and let it sit for a few minutes. And then we can attach the cord to the handheld unit. We're going to turn it on. And then once it's sat for a few minutes, you can go ahead and press the calibration button. And then you're going to choose the first one, the optical dissolved oxygen, or ODO. Again, choose the first one, the DO %. And it's going to bring you to the screen. You can see the little black box at the bottom with 2 lines. So we just want to give that a minute to calibrate and acclimate. We want to make sure the lines are steady, that there's no sudden peaks on it. And then this is also an opportunity to record your barometer reading onto your field sheet. So that's just at the bottom of your field sheet, and you can find the barometer reading here. Once those lines look good, then you can choose to accept the calibration, and you should receive a calibration successful message at the bottom. If you don't, and it's says that it's a questionable calibration, don't accept. Go back through, redo the process, make sure everything's dry, no cracks or anything, and give us a call if you try it again and it's not working. Once it goes through, then you can just press escape and it'll bring you back to the home screen. Okay, and then for connectivity, like I said, for those who are going to be doing it this summer, you'll also be receiving connectivity solution just at the bottom right, and it's going to have a number on it. So that's going to be really important right away here. So that's where the connectivity cells are located. They're just two cells at the top there. And that's where everything's measured. And you're also going to receive a graduated cylinder. So you're going to take off that gray sleeve, keep the guard on, put it into the graduated cylinder, and then you're going to take that connectivity calibration solution, fill it up basically to the top. We want to make sure that those two cells are covered. And then we're going to let that sit for a few minutes. Okay, and then you're going to again press that calibration button. You're going to choose connectivity. You're going to choose the SP conductance or specific conductance. And again, you're going to see the screen again with the little black box. So while those lines are running, a really important step for the connectivity calibration is to change that calibration value. So we're going to match what was written on that bottle. So I believe it was 987 in that example. So you're going to go in, click OK, change it to 987, and then click OK to come back out. And then wait a minute while it calibrates. So again, if your lines look good, then go ahead and accept the calibration, press escape until you reach the home screen, and then you can put the gray sleeve back on and your probe is ready to go for your sampling trip. You're going to do these calibrations in the morning before your each sampling event. You don't have to do it if you're doing a couple lakes in a day. You can just do it once. Unless your lakes are really far apart, then we recommend redoing dissolved oxygen calibration just in case the atmospheric pressures vary quite a bit. Is there any questions on the calibration?
Not seeing anything in the chat yet
Okay.
either.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now that that's all calibrated, we're going to talk about when you're getting to your site. So you're going to prep your boat. So obviously with your boats, you should have your PCOC license. You can grab that online if you don't, but that's just required by Alberta Transportation. And then when you're packing up your boat, you want to make sure you have your probe kit with you, your bottle set in a cooler with a cold ice pack or two. You want to have enough gas and oil for your trip. Expect to be out on the lake maybe an hour to 2 hours, depending how big the lake is. Other things you should have are encouraged to have emergency paddles, your first aid kits, life jacket or PFD. Having an anchor or weight with an appropriate length rope is important because once you get to your site, you're going to drop that anchor and you want to stay put. Having your cell phone or radio, some buoyant rope, GPS, and whistle or air horn. So these are all things that you want to make sure you have on your boat as you go out. As a rule of thumb, for the rope, we want it to be twice as long as the maximum depth of your lake. I know in some cases we are unaware of the depth of the lakes being sampled, so if they haven't been done before, having 20 to 30 meters of rope is good enough. Okay, and then once everything is equipped and launched, you're going to head out to where you want to sample. Once you arrive, you drop your anchor, turn off your boat. That's really important. We don't want the gas contaminating your sample as you're collecting it. Make sure it's secure. This is why it's also important to not sample in really strong winds because even being anchored, you could still drift. And that can cause some issues trying to get accurate readings with your probe, or safety issues if there's white caps out. Okay. Okay, and then once you're anchored and you want to begin sampling, you're going to fill out the front side of your field sheet. So all that sampling information we took a look at, fill that out, use your tape and weight to measure the bottom depth and record that on the back side of your field sheet. You can also fill out that additional comment section with wildlife vegetation, if the lake's really busy, just those kind of things. And then you're going to use that Secchi disc to measure Secchi depth. So I'll just talk about that now. First and foremost, it's really important to measure your Secchi depth on the shady side of the boat and to remove your sunglasses. This will minimize the reflection off the water. So wherever the sun is in the sky, head to the opposite side of your boat. Sometimes the sun may be directly above you and there really isn't a shady side. So just do your best to choose what side you think will interfere the least when measuring. So next you're going to lower your Secchi disc until it's just under the water surface. This is where you can record the color of the water observed over the Secchi disc on your field sheet. So you'll observe the white stripes on the disc and mark what color the water appears against it. Now you can slowly continue lowering that disc until you can't see the white stripes, that they just disappear from view. Make sure you become familiar with the marking guide so you can keep track of the length being lowered. So this marking guide will be in your field manual and on quite a few of our Secchi discs now. It's actually written right on the board itself. So just make sure you're counting those increments as you go. Once the disc just disappears, hold it there, record that depth on the field sheet under disappears. And this chain is already marked in meters. So again, you don't have to convert anything. And then the next step, you're going to slowly raise that disc back up until you just observe the white stripes again. So, and they're going to be quite faint. So you're going to record the depth on the field sheet on the reappears line. And now you can route the Secchi disc all the way back up, and to calculate your depth, you just average the disappears and the reappears depth, and this is your Secchi depth. So for example, if your Secchi disc disappeared at 2.7 meters and then became visible again at 2.1 meters, then the average would be 2.4 meters, and that's your depth. There is a link below for the Pigeon Lake Watershed Association. They did a nice video on how to measure Secchi depth. So you're welcome to view that as well. Okay, next you'll measure your profile with the probe. So again, as I mentioned, our probe board is already marked in meters. This marking guide is also in your field manual. So you can follow along. That first blue tape line is your 0.1 meter reading. Pink is half meter, and then every orange tape is every meter. And then every 5 meters and every 10 meters is marked specially too, just to help keep track, especially on the deeper lakes. So you're going to lower your probe, take off your gray sleeve, and then lower your probe into the water just to that first blue mark. Please allow a minute for the probe to acclimate once in the water. And then someone can read out the temperature, the dissolved oxygen, and the connectivity readings. Someone else can record on the field sheet. Then you're going to go to your half meter, same thing. And then you're going to repeat these steps, going to every meter until you reach a meter above bottom. So let's say your lake was 5.3 meters deep. We're going to ask that you stop recording at 5 meters. 4 or 5 meters, we can determine in our office if the probe has gone into the sediment or not. The values do start to look different. Okay. And finally, you're going to collect all the water samples in your bottles. So it's pretty much the same, and it's really easy. The most important things to please label your bottles before you begin dipping them in the lake. It's going to be really hard if the labels are wet. And another important thing is to please label all the bottles with the same start time. And to please put on the yellow gloves that we provide, just to ensure that if you don't want algae and everything touching your skin, then please wear the gloves. And this is good for when you're adding the preservatives as well. So put on your gloves, and then as far as you can comfortably reach below the lake, fill up each bottle. 2 bottles to pay attention to are the microcystin bottle. You only have to fill this up 3/4 full. Just leave a little headspace as this one gets frozen. So we don't want that bursting in the freezer. And then you have your G2 preserved bottle, which will include a yellow capped preservative. So before you fill that up in the lake, just take that preservative off, hold it in one hand, fill up your G2 preserved bottle, and then carefully add the sulfuric acid preservative in after, and just invert the bottle a couple times. And then all these bottles can go right back into your cooler with the cold ice pack. And I will talk about bottle storage right away here. Is there any questions while you're out on the lake?
Nothing in the chat yet.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so after sampling, we want to make sure our bottles are stored properly. If you are dropping back off to our office the same day, then just feel free to head right from the lake with your cooler and field sheets and bring everything to us. If you aren't dropping off till the next day, or you're shipping out to us, then the bottles will have to be stored properly overnight. So the G2 preserved, the isotope bottles can go right into the fridge and be kept cold. The chlorophyll brown bottle can be put into the fridge if you're not able to filter right away. But just note that it does have to be filtered within 24 hours. So just put it in the fridge if you can't do it right away, but make sure it's done by the next day. And the microcystin can go actually into the freezer overnight until you bring everything back to us. And then I will talk about the filter steps pretty soon here. But we do highly recommend that you ship or drop samples back to the ALMS office within a couple of days of sampling. That just allows us enough time to process them and for the labs to analyze them within the hold times. And just keep in touch with us when you do go out and when you do plan to ship or drop off the samples to us. Okay, and then I'll just talk about the chlorophyll filtering again. All these steps will be available in the field manual as well. So we do provide the filter kits. We provide all this equipment, so the hand pumps, the filter apparatuses, the wash bottles, the graduated cylinders, and the filter papers. So just to begin here, these filter apparatuses, you can unscrew the top. With the tweezers provided, you're going to place the filter paper on the bottom and then screw that top back on. And then with the squirt bottle and the purified water provided, you're going to just pour some of that pure water into your squirt bottle. And then just wet the filter paper to begin. And then you can attach the hand pump to your filter apparatus and pump that bit of water down, and then you're ready to begin filtering. So you are going to have your graduated cylinder. You're going to use that to measure out the amount of water you want to test for. So the goal of the filtering is to get some color onto the filter paper that the labs can analyze for chlorophyll. We do provide the brown 1 liter bottles, and we need to get 3 unique samples or filter papers out of them. So you can begin filtering in the summer. We kind of recommend around 50 milliliters just to see how much, if you get any color on right away. And if you get up to 300 milliliters total, then you can stop. It's okay if there's not color on it. Some lakes won't have it, but likely especially in the summer, you will be able to see some color before that 300 milliliters. So start by pouring or measuring out 50 milliliters in your graduated cylinder. Pour that into your filter apparatus, pump that down, and then you can unscrew that top. just to see if you do see that color, especially against the stark white edge of your filter paper. If you don't see color, then screw the top back on, measure out another 50 milliliters, and then just keep track as you go until you reach that color, or you've reached a maximum of 300 milliliters. Some lakes might only have to filter 20 milliliters, and some will take up to 300 milliliters. It really depends on the lake, but that's the goal, especially with this first filter paper, is just to determine how much water needs to be filtered, just to get a slight color, not an oversaturated color. But once, let's say you filter 150 milliliters of water, and you see color, then you're good to go. So your next step is going to be rinsing out your graduated cylinder and your filter apparatus. So with your squirt bottle, you're just going to swirl water into your graduated cylinder 3 times, dump that into the filter apparatus, pump it down. Use your squirt bottle to swirl around the inside of your filter apparatus, just to make sure there's no leftover water. Pump that down, and then your next step is to preserve your samples. So we do provide magnesium carbonate and a pipette. So you're going to add 4 to 5 drops of the magnesium carbonate onto your filter paper. And then using the tweezers, you can unscrew the top of the filter apparatus. Using the tweezers, you can fold that filter paper in half twice, avoid touching any portion of the paper that has chlorophyll on it. Put that into a petri dish, and then you're going to wrap that in aluminum foil that's provided, just to reduce the light exposure. And then a really important step is filling out the chlorophyll labels that we provide. So we want the lake name, the date, and the filter volume that you've done. So just try and be as accurate as possible. If you ended up measuring out 155 milliliters, no problem. Just make sure you put that onto your label, and you're just gonna stick that label over top of your aluminum foiled petri dish. And then once you have that first filter paper, you're gonna repeat those steps twice more so that you end up with 3 filter papers total. And what essentially we're doing is making a triplicate sample. So when you go back and start your second one, if you filtered at 150 milliliters for your first one, you're going to aim to measure out 150 milliliters for your second and your third one. If you go over on your second or third one, let's say you accidentally measured 160 milliliters, no problem. You don't have to put any water back into the bottle. Just please record your filter volume as is. Okay, so once everything's completed, we're going to either drop off or ship back these samples. So if you are shipping back, we do include a shipping slip with we usually put it with the chlorophyll filter bag. So we will have our ALMS Purelator account number on there that you can use, our address to ship it to. So you don't have to send the slip back. You can just use it as a reference. Always choose express or overnight shipping. We can also set up a return slip prior to your sample trip where a QR code will be generated, and we can send that to you, and then that can just be scanned at the Purelator location. So we can discuss this when you pick up or receive your equipment, how best we want to do that. A few other important notes when planning your sampling trip to keep in mind is that when you hope to get out on the lake, whether it's the morning, afternoon, consider how much time you need to do the sampling and then to also filter the chlorophyll and ship everything out. So sampling in the summer usually takes a little more prep time just because you have to get the boat ready and launched, and also get out to your site. So just keep that in mind. When you do sample that day, just plan to either ship out the same day or the next day at the latest, and to also check with your courier for the cutoff times. at the nearest Purelator location. In the appendix of the field manual, there are some Purelator locations and cutoff times listed, so you can refer to those. And to please include a copy of your field sheet. You can either send a physical copy or you can email one to us. We just ask, please send it the same day, just so we have all that information to send to the labs right away. And again, include cold ice packs when you're shipping your bottles back. Make sure you grab your microcystin bottle and your chlorophyll filters that will be stored also in the freezer. Make sure those get put into your cooler and not forgotten, just so we can get those out to the labs right away as well. Okay. Just more considerations to think about. So please avoid shipping samples back to the office on Fridays, as our office isn't closed and sometimes the labs aren't open either. We recommend at least 2 weeks between each sampling trip. So like I said, you're aiming for about 3 sampling trips between June and September, so it's quite flexible. There is lots of time. It's not a big deal if you have to reschedule your sampling trip, but just please let us know. Keep us informed, especially if you do have a probe, a short-term probe that you're just picking up and dropping off. We do have a limited number of probes, so it just helps us coordinate if another volunteer might be ready to go. We do have some office closures to note. So we do have quite a few long weekends, obviously, in the summer, so please keep those in mind. Our office will be closed. When you're selecting your site, prioritize one lake that is accessible by boat or canoe, especially if you haven't sampled it before. If you're able to do a pre-scouting trip for access, that would be great. And just make sure your boat is able to fit the probe kit, the sampling gear like the bottle sets, and any safety gear you need. And yeah, we really love when volunteers take photos of the lake, or if you see algae blooms, please send pictures to us. You can email them to lakekeepers@alms.ca. Okay, and then so next steps, there are limited spots left, so please email lakekeepers@alms.ca if you are interested in joining the program or you haven't confirmed your participation this summer and which lake you would like to sample. As I mentioned, we do have our volunteer consent form on the ALMS website. If you haven't filled that out yet, please do. We will follow up to coordinate a shipping plan for gear and equipment right away, as we're closely approaching June here, and you can begin in June. So send us an email even this week if you feel you're going to be ready to go in the next couple weeks, and we can coordinate that for you. And then the summer 2024 Lake Keepers report will be available this summer, and we'll let everyone know once it's up on our website. And we have some exciting news. So we've had our staff members, they've been working very hard the last few months, putting together various training videos for our programs, which I think is going to be a really helpful tool to volunteers and communities in doing the monitoring. So we are going to have our Summer Lake Keepers training video available at the end of May on our website. So please look out for that. We hope this will be really helpful for you to go to the section that you need. If the field manual is not making sense, it's just a better way to visualize the process. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that at the end of May. That will be available for you all year round. Okay, and with that, I'd like to thank all of our volunteers and our communities and staff and board for their ongoing support, and also special thanks to our funders, the Alberta Conservation Association. You know, with their money, we get to continue monitoring and have a lot of fun doing this work with you guys. So thanks, and our contact information is just to the side there, lakekeepers@alms.ca. And yeah, we look forward to everyone joining us this summer out on the lakes. So I hope this presentation was informative and insightful, and provided some information about what we do at ALMS. So thank you, and happy to take any questions now.
Thanks, Kirsten. Yeah, if there's anyone on the call who just wants to unmute and ask a question, go for it. There's only a couple of you here, so don't think you'll risk talking over each other.
Think. Not to call you out, but I think I saw Jason online. Jason, are you hoping to do Spring Lake again?
Yep, I'm actually typing up my email to get me on the list.
Okay.
I thought I had, but all of a sudden I was looking and I hadn't done it yet. So yeah,
Yeah, no.
no, we've got a few volunteers again, and we'll get it going again.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I'll add you to the list.
Yeah, and
Am I
I'll touch base with you, and I'll pick it up rather save alms the shipping cost, just because it's
Sure.
relatively close to where I'm at, because I've been dropping it off, but I'll go with pickup